The National Center for Education states that 11.6 million students attend college full-time. Students who are entering into college for the first time straight out of high school are about to experience the first taste of the adult world. This comes with many different pressures, such as living on their own for the first time, having to find a new social circle, and having to work a college course load. In recent years, substance use has become the most widespread health problem on college campuses. A study conducted by Caldera found that half of the students, freshman through junior years of college, met the criteria for a substance use disorder. Welsh stated that a national survey found that 60% of full-time college students consumed alcohol and 39% of the students reported binge drinking within the past month. This found that more college students use alcohol at a higher rate than those who are the same age and not in college. In turn, this can also increase the risk for illicit drug use. Kilvichin and Lowe report that alcohol is widely available to college students in the United States, and the prevalence of annual consumption is highest in full-time college students who are 1 to 4 years out of high school. Welsh reports that in 2016, 20% of college students smoked cannabis in the past month, and that the rate of marijuana use has doubled between the years of 2007 and 2014. Welsh also found that 4% of full-time college students use cocaine, with 1.4% using in the past month. In a study of 1,200 full-time college students, 20% of them stated that they were exposed to opportunities to use that substance. Welsh et al. Concludes by stating that using substances in college can lead to a lower GPA, failure to graduate and receive employment, and could lead to physical and psychiatric disorders. According to the American Addiction Center, reports that the 5 most commonly used substances on college campuses are alcohol, including binge drinking, marijuana, opioids, stimulants, and sedatives. According to the American Addiction Center, alcohol is the most common due to the fact that it is easily accessible on campuses. When many students drink, they participate in binge drinking behaviors, which can have serious physical consequences. The American Addiction Center states that marijuana is the second most used substance on college campuses. They have found that nearly 50% of college students have smoked recreationally. And as previously mentioned, stimulants are also on the rise as they help students study longer and remain more focused. As we all know, college is a very stressful time in life. And the Addiction Center states that there are a multitude of reasons as to why college students use substances. To begin, college can be the first time the student is moving away or not living in the home with a parent or guardian. This can lead to feelings of independence and newfound freedom that they are not sure what to do with. During college, there are many demands for your time, including going to class, completing schoolwork, completing coursework with many different due dates. With this, many people try to find ways to support themselves, so they must start working a job either full-time or part-time, so that there is a lot of stress that can then cause one to just want to be able to relax. A big factor that leads to many using substances in college is peer pressure. During this time, many people are needing to find new friends and a new social group. Wanting to fit in can lead people to try new things. If one becomes surrounded by these different substances, then it can be hard not to use. As previously mentioned, peer pressure is something that continues when one gets into college. A subculture that can be the epitome of peer pressure is Greek life. Greek life are the fraternities and sororities on campuses. They are organizations that people can join that can enhance their social life, give them volunteer opportunities, and at times help them improve their GPA. On the other hand, college students should join a fraternity or sorority are more likely to engage in using substances than their peers on campus who do not. Esteban et al. Conducted a study that found that males who lived in fraternity houses during college had higher levels of binge drinking and marijuana use compared to non-members. Once a person develops addictive behaviors, the use of the substances does not end after college. The same study found that at the age of 35, 45% of the members of the fraternity who lived in the house during college were reported to have symptoms of mild to severe alcohol use disorder. There are many pressures that come with using substances while in Greek life. Many times, members of the Greek community will live together. It is hard to avoid the substance when one is constantly surrounded by it. That is why when in recovery, people try to avoid people and places that remind them of when they used the substance. Another aspect of Greek life that involves substance is the hazing that occurs in some organizations for members to join. Hazing or initiation rituals are any activities that are expected of someone joining or participating in a group that humiliates them, degrades, abuses, or endangers the person, regardless of their willingness to participate, according to StopHazing.com. Hazing can take many forms, ranging from intimidation to physical violence. Physical violence in these situations can look like forcing someone to drink alcohol or use substances that can result in physical harm or even death. Hazing Prevention Network reported research from the With U.S. Center for Bystander Intervention in 2020 states that 71% of students who witness hazing say that alcohol was involved in some form or fashion. The transition to adulthood is often met with uncertainty. As mentioned previously, 18 to 22-year-old college students are more likely to drink alcohol in the past month, along with engaging in binge drinking behaviors than their same-aged peers who are not in college. Lipari and John Francisco reported in 2016 that when they conducted a study in 2014, that full-time college students perceived there was a great risk of harm from binge drinking daily, and this has remained stable from the previous years. Perceptions to obtain substances while in college has changed over the years. The ability to obtain marijuana has remained stable for many years, while the perception to easily obtain cocaine has declined from previous years. Price from the Virtue Recovery Center reported in 2024 that there is a current surge in the use of non-medical stimulants that often serve as cognitive enhancers. 18 to 25-year-olds are the leading demographic for the trend of the increase in the use of Adderall. There is a misperceived safety in the use of Adderall. Many believe that since it is a prescribed drug, it is safe, but it is not safe when taken not prescribed, and doing this can lead to a dependence upon the Adderall. According to the American Addiction Center, there is also a social aspect that makes people want to continue the use of Adderall. These people state that since they are able to stay awake longer, it can make them more social. When taking Adderall in conjunction with drinking alcohol, the effects can cause serious bodily harm since alcohol is a depressant and Adderall is a stimulant. The American Addiction Center states that a side effect of taking Adderall is that it can cause weight loss. This may draw in people who are struggling with the societal pressures to look a certain way.
Prevention and brief intervention. The Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration created a national registry of evidence-based programs that are designed for substance use-related interventions, several of which are tailored to the college student population. The majority of these interventions are related to drinking, but there are some related to other substances. All prevention and intervention programs mentioned mentioned on the next several slides come from the same source. However, more information may be provided from the program's direct websites if available. The BASICS program, which is an acronym for Brief Alcohol Screening and Intervention for College Students. This is based on motivational interviewing style of interaction that uses cognitive behavioral therapy skills to reduce alcohol consumption among college students who are at risk of alcohol-related problems. It consists of 2 one-hour interviews and an online survey assessment. The goal is to motivate students and to reduce their risky behaviors, and this is shown to be effective in reducing alcohol use among heavy drinking students. And there is an entire book on Google Books over this program. Alcohol EDU for college. This is a 1 to 3 hour interactive online course that consists of a baseline survey and 4 modules. The goal is to reduce alcohol use and alcohol-related negative consequences. This empowers students to cultivate a healthy campus environment through strategies to reduce risk, teaching bystander intervention, and supporting non-drinkers. Vector's alcohol prevention program for college students are proven effective in 8 peer-reviewed studies and have been completed by 10+ million students. Although it is called Alcohol EDU, this program also includes information on cannabis use. They have something called Cannabis EDU and prescription drug misuse prevention. And this can all be found on the website for Alcohol EDU. The Alcohol Literacy Challenge. This is a 50-minute group-delivered classroom session that incorporates slides and videos. The goal is to reduce alcohol use by correcting false beliefs about its positive and negative effects. The website for this program mentions that the program is backed by 7 studies that validates its effectiveness. It is continuously improved based on feedback from over 15 years of field testing, and it is used by schools and prevention programs in 20 states. So this one is a little different than the other programs and interventions I have mentioned already. This one is called Challenging College Alcohol Abuse, a campaign. This prevention intervention is a social media campaign that places advertisements in the school newspaper and other media and provides many grants to support non-alcohol social activities. The goal of this campaign is to reduce binge drinking by challenging misconceptions about peer use, reduce the negative impacts of heavy alcohol use on campus. A social marketing media campaign based on a normative social influence model and focused on normative messages regarding binge drinking on a large Southwestern University campus has yielded positive preliminary results of an overall 29.2% decrease in binge drinking rates over a 3-year period. And this was found on the in an article about this campaign. College Drinkers Checkup. This is a 46-minute web-based brief motivational interview that includes screening, assessment, feedback, and setting a plan. There is an optional follow-up session also available. The goal is to reduce alcohol consumption among heavy episodic drinkers, give at-risk students personalized feedback, and invite them to participate in the intervention module. There was a link to a website that was specific for this program. However, when I tried to open it on my laptop, it's like the website either didn't exist or there was just an error message that came up. So I wasn't able to find any more information on this one. In Shape Prevention Plus Wellness. This is a 30-minute session including a baseline screen, a one-on-one consultation, and a behavioral goal plan. The goal of this intervention is to reduce alcohol, tobacco, and illicit drug use, promote healthy eating, exercise, and other positive changes. Prime for Life. This is a motivational risk reduction program delivered by instructors and group leaders. The goal is to change drinking and drug use behaviors of high-risk individuals. This is typically used by agencies serving individuals who have violated some type of substance use policy. I found out through the website of this program that it is based in Lexington, Kentucky, so I thought that was kind of cool. Prime for Life provides a judgment-free way of understanding how alcohol and drug-related problems develop, what we can do to prevent them, and why sometimes we need help. This is the last program I found on the website with all of the other programs that I have mentioned previously. This is Say It Straight. This program consists of 5 to 10 45 to 50-minute sessions led by 1 or 2 trainers. These sessions are action-oriented and involve components such as role plays. The goal is to prevent risky or destructive behaviors such as substance abuse, violence, and dropout, and promote positive changes through drug refusal skill practices and communication training. Say It Straight is a research-based education and training program that results in empowering communication skills and behaviors, increased self-awareness, self-efficacy, personal and social responsibility, positive relationships, and quality of life, and decreased alienation, risky or destructive behaviors such as alcohol, tobacco, and other drug abuse. This program is also used in other age groups outside of college students. It can be used in, I'm not sure what the lowest age is, but I know it's used in like high school and things like that. So I thought that was pretty cool. Outside of the prevention programs that I found, I also discovered the Campus Drug Prevention Strategic Planning Guide. And this is from the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration. They have a website that provides this guide for drug prevention, specifically among college students. This guide's called Prevention with Purpose, a strategic planning guide for preventing drug misuse among college students. And I included the link. This guide provides a roadmap for campus and community-based prevention professionals to collaborate with a wide range of stakeholders, from students to administrators, to address campus-wide drug misuse issues. This guide is 164 pages and goes through the history of drug misuse, an overview of the strategic prevention framework, how to address misuse on campus, planning, implementing, and evaluating prevention programs, and more. And I just thought that was really interesting, how this is just free and available for anyone to use, and it's very, very long and has a lot of information on how to help those in need. For the last slide of prevention approaches, I wanted to go into a little more detail about the strategic prevention framework that is mentioned in the previous slide from the Campus Drug Prevention Guide from the DEA. This is a 5-step prevention framework that includes assessment, which is identifying local prevention needs based on data. Step 2 is capacity, building local resources and readiness to address prevention needs. Step 3, planning, find out what works to address prevention needs and how to do it well. Step 4, implementation, deliver evidence-based interventions as needed. And step 5, evaluation, examine the process and outcomes of interventions. This is just a figure from the guide that I screenshotted and put into the slideshow, but I just wanted to put that in here, and also it goes into much more detail in the guide, and I just thought that was very helpful and informative.
Hello everyone. Let's get into treatment approaches. So first and foremost, I think it's important to talk about how it's covered, because for college students, we're typically not making a lot of money. And so college students are usually covered under their parents' insurances. And for students under 25, that usually means that they would only have to pay the copay. And outside of that, it's kind of out of pocket. For students over 25, whatever insurance they have should be willing to help with treatment, as the most basic insurances do help students with inpatient and outpatient treatment centers. But if you don't have insurance and you don't really have another way to kind of get help with that, you're kind of paying for it on your own, and that can get very expensive. Also, if we're looking into approaches specific to students, not specifically within Everyday Society. So there's not like a treatment center in cities that I've found that's specifically just for college students. It might say like adolescent treatment centers or things like that, but not anything that's particularly for college students. But on college campuses, yes. So for example, I found the College Aid Recovery programs, or College Aid Recovery communities. Those are college-based programs designed to help promote recovery in students through drug and alcohol-free opportunities to socialize, substance-free housing, crisis support, groups. They even offer meetings daily and sometimes weekly, depending on what the college is offering and what's available to the students. So you'll see me talk a lot about the CRPs and the CRCs, because these are essentially what colleges are starting to adapt to meet college students where they're at. And that's kind of the most specific that we've been able to get. I haven't found anything else outside of colleges that have been specifically for college students. Outside of colleges working with CRPs, there are colleges who partner like with AAA programs, and so these kind of include offer campus-based like 12-step or other support meetings, such as Students for Recovery, offering substance abuse counseling by trained professionals, providing campus education to reduce the stigma of accessing help, scheduling classes on Fridays to reduce alcohol-related partying on Thursdays, monitoring fraternities and sororities, and having longer opening hours for recreational facilities and libraries. Like on the U of L's campus, we see that the library is open 24/7. And so colleges are kind of like trying to find ways to offer other solutions for college students. So this more goes into prevention, but offering of the AAA programs is a part of the treatment approach. Similarly, we've seen that like identified CRP, like best practices, is the peer recovery supports in the student drop-in centers, and like offering mutual help groups. That's kind of been the thing that's worked the most as far as like in a treatment approach for college students. As previously mentioned in the before slides, we know that like roughly only 3% of students are reaching out to get help because they don't think that what they have is a substance use disorder, or they don't feel that they struggle with alcohol. So getting students in to talk about these things or to get into an inpatient or outpatient treatment center is a little bit harder than the norm. And so making the campuses a substance use free place and making it to where there are things that are offered to combat that is really going to be the best way to go about it, as well as having that support group or students that are willing to have the hard conversation with the other students who aren't and willing to support those in that time. Now, outside of the college space and making that on daily living, we have those inpatient and outpatient treatment centers if some students are lucky enough to go to those, or I guess unlucky enough to need one but able to go. Some of those inpatient and outpatient treatment centers do offer groups specifically for college students, but this is kind of based on the community surrounding the student. For example, there are some of these within Louisville, but it's not going to be really available, say, at WKU. There wasn't much I could find outside of Louisville that offered groups that were specifically for college students. So that's not to say that this would be offered at every inpatient or outpatient treatment center. And it's also circumstantial. So like a student would have to have the economic means or the social means or the cultural privilege even to be able to go to an inpatient and outpatient treatment center and be supported. Or to have that courage. So I think it's important to acknowledge like inpatient and outpatient treatment centers are always going to be an option for students, but the things offered within college can be helpful, especially since it will be on campus where students are, and it's kind of promoting the era of seeking treatment and offering some resources for that. So on the other side of the coin, we do have college campuses that are applying and trying to prevent and treat some substance use disorders, but however, in an article done by Parent in 2012, we note that most campus-based counseling or health services centers are inadequately equipped to support students in recovery or help students with severe addictions. So as a result, students are often referred to inpatient or intensive community-based outpatient programs. And recalling on the last slide I just talked about, we know that some of those inpatient or community-based outpatient programs are just not doable for some students, whether that's a support issue or a monetary issue, it's just not doable. And it also goes into students have a lot on their plate as far as schooling and their future, and it can become overwhelming, especially if they don't have the right support and they drop out quickly. And so when we think about campus-based counseling, it's important that our counseling and our health service centers are equipped to deal with addictions and substance use issues and alcohol-related issues. As we know, it affects college students on a wide scale, especially with fraternities and students who are on campus, living on campus. Substance use disorder and substance use issues is a very big play into the college campus culture. So making sure that they're adequately equipped is important, and right now, based on some surveys, they're not. Also, the available evidence on CRPs is minimal when compared to the extensive research base on prevention and reduction of substance use on college campuses. So essentially, there's a disparity and a growing need for recovery-oriented services on college campus, and there also needs to be evaluations of the CRPs that are being provided on college campuses. So there's a lot of literature and there's a lot of prevention going into college, and they're trying to get the word out about it, but they're not necessarily doing much to assess what they've implemented so far to see if it's working. In the article by Vest from 2021, Vest also found that most statistical information lacked information regarding cultural competency for women, multiracial and ethnic groups, and the LGBT community. So they're doing very basic research, and they're not kind of diving into a lot of the other ways that a substance use is happening and to whom it's happening to. And so there needs to be a call for more research on these issues. So now let's talk about opportunities for colleges and students. So in the article by Perriton, he states formal recovery centers can be regarded as a top-down approach to supporting students in which college secures the necessary fund and space to build an infrastructure of services. So his article goes on to talk about how implementing an infrastructure of services on campus could be really helpful to students. So this approach can be ideal due to being on campus and meeting the needs of a student throughout their daily life. So housing those groups in that center, or offering Narcan, or offering a space for a student to go when they're in need or they feel like they're going to use. And this center can also be an opportunity for research groups. So going back to that last slide where I'm talking about how there's a lack of research in what they're doing and how it's working. And we know that they're preventing and we know that they're doing reductions, but how is that playing out? What these research groups could give us that information. And this kind of prompts the idea for student support professionals in that center. So they would aid in providing professional support, peer support, and campus community partnership. So this could build into services provided by grant. So if I'm looking at the U of L campus, they could apply to use the Trauma Resilience Community Grant to place a recovery center on campus and within one of those, or within a building on campus. And as we know, substance use and alcohol is prevalent among U of L students. So placing a center, providing all of those things, it could really be a light for some students on campus. And the TRC could also help aid in providing more research, providing the monetary need for it, thus furthering the growth of backed up interventions and treatment plans that we know work for specific populations or with students specifically, like which ones are working more than others, involving families if that needs to be done, and really just kind of figuring out the best course of action, because it doesn't seem that there is one that's laid out correctly for college students, and that doesn't prompt a good feeling, honestly. But the best approach, I would say something is better than nothing. While colleges are researching and informing others on the subjects, there needs to be actions. We have the CRCs, we have the CRPs, but we don't know if they're working, we don't know what they're actually doing, there's not necessarily an outline for it, and as far as my research goes into, the programs don't necessarily have a center that these students are going to. It's kind of just a program that they may or may not be a part of, and by they I mean the students. And so getting something a little bit more concrete would be really helpful for research and those wanting to know more about what's offered, but it would also help those where it's directly affecting the population. So, and that's all I have today. Thank you.